Uncle is from Ohio. There is a landmark called the Serpent Mound in the southwest of Ohio, and in the game it is west of Van Horn, possibly meaning that Ohio is north of New Hanover, showing that Uncle was probably very close to the RDR2 map as a child. Uncle says that he used to be a rancher in RDR1. Look at how Otis Miller is described in the books. In the book Otis Miller and the Boy from New York, this is said about Otis. The barkeep eyed him suspiciously. "You wanderin' off some farm?" To which Otis replies, "I reckon maybe I did." In the book Otis Miller and the Black-Hearted Lady, Black Belle says, that's where Otis Miller and his boys are set up at the old Danville homestead. Must have 100 head of cattle and 30 good horses. In the book Otis Miller and the Arabian Prince he says, "I traveled thousands of miles to chase down the finest horse in the world." The Arabian Prince helped Otis up, "I will send you back to America with one of my finest steeds, Otis Miller. How did you come by such a notion? I came to steal one of your horses." "Oh, I know Otis Miller, I have read of you."
Come on! Come on! Proud of you, boy. See? Listen to me and you'll go far.
What are you looking at, old man?
There's some Mustangs and some such out there beyond that ridge. Wondering if it was worth getting you and going around some of them up.
Fair enough.
Yeah! That weren't half bad for a couple of old reprobates.
I learned a few things while I was away.
Anything you wanted to know, you only had to ask.
You? What the hell do you know about any of this?
I was a rancher myself back in the day.
Firstly, I don't believe you. And secondly, if you was, why have you been hiding it all these years?
This all makes sense considering that Jesse James grew up on a ranch and later tried to buy a small farm in Nebraska under a fake name. James was short of cash, which prevented him from completing the farm purchase. To get the money, he planned to rob a bank with Bob and Charlie Ford. This plan was cut short when Bob Ford shot and killed him on April 3, 1882, before the robbery could occur. Seeing that Jesse James had an interest in farming, it's not unlikely that Otis Miller would too. Uncle's favorite drink is whiskey, with this being what he is mostly seen drinking in the game, and Rockstar describes Uncle as always around when the whiskey is open. In the book Otis Miller and the Boy from New York, the first thing that Otis does after hitching his horse is go into a saloon and order a whiskey, neat, with water back. You can imagine Uncle in the same situations as Otis in the books. In fact, there are situations in RDR2 that are very similar to the books. For example, in the book Otis Miller and the Boy from New York, Otis gets into a standoff at a bar, and on the cover we see him pinned against the wall outside, struggling to fight back. There are two random encounters in Valentine and one in Blackwater of Uncle getting into bar fights and attacked outside of saloons. Also, in the book, Otis Miller and the Arabian Prince, Otis had been kidnapped and tied up in the desert. He only escapes because the person tied up next to him had a knife in their boot, and the Arabian Prince helped him get out when the kidnappers surrounded him during the escape. This moment reminds me of the epilogue of RDR2 when Uncle's taken by the Skinners, but in this situation he was alone and only escaped because John and Charles went looking for him. I believe that if he's not Otis, it's also possible that Uncle's a member of the Otis Miller gang that we don't know about, or an unrelated character with similarities, but because of the personality and physical similarities, I think Uncle being Otis or Frank makes sense. There are two mentions of his brother potentially being a part of the gang. With his brother Frank he robbed the Blackwater Bank, from the camp song in the book Otis Miller and the Black-Hearted Lady, where Black Belle asks Otis, "Is that ornery two-bit brother of yours up there with you?" And Frank responds saying, "I am." If Frank had been a member of the gang, he probably had gone where Otis did and had been involved in a lot of the same crimes and activities. I think the cigarette card photograph was taken while Otis was in hiding because of the way he was dressed, and he grew his beard out, probably to hide his face, which is why there's only him and two others with him in the picture. on the map message he says that his wife and the brothers are the last loyal friends that he has left, so we can assume that his brother Frank probably died or left the gang before Otis went into hiding. Which is why I think Otis being uncle is more likely.